Right now, everything around the Pittsburgh Steelers feels like it's balanced on big, uncomfortable questions, and none of them are abstract. This is real. This is happening now, and it's shaping how this team is being viewed in the heart of the season. A franchise built on history, dominant defense, and a winning mentality heads into Week 15, preparing for a crucial Monday Night Football matchup against the Miami Dolphins, carrying much more than just a game plan. Inside Steelers Nation, the conversation isn't only about the opponent. It's about direction, belief, frustration, and the biggest question of all. Can this team finally break free from the cycle it has been stuck in for years? So make sure to hit that like button, support the channel, and stick with me, because the conversation starts right now. One of the loudest and most emotional topics among Steelers fans right now centers on Mike Tomlin. This isn't a surface-level debate. On one hand, his resume is undeniable. You simply do not stack non-losing seasons year after year in the NFL if you are a bad head coach. That reality matters, and it always will. There is also the respect he commands inside the locker room. Players consistently speak about Mike Tomlin as a true leader of men, someone who connects with his players in a way few coaches ever do. That part of his legacy in Pittsburgh is real and earned. At the same time, it's impossible to ignore the growing frustration. Many fans feel the team has been stuck in a cycle of mediocrity, and Tomlin's influence on personnel decisions has become part of that conversation. There's a belief that too many aging players were brought in, players who could no longer elevate the roster the way the Steelers needed. There's also the criticism surrounding coordinator hires. Tomlin's first wave of coordinator decisions, including Bruce Arians on offense and Dick LeBeau on defense, stands out as his most successful. Since then, the ability to replicate that level of impact hasn't been there, and fans see that as a major reason why the team has struggled to take the next step. Because of all that, you can feel the divide. Some fans will always see Mike Tomlin as a Steelers legend because he brought a Super Bowl to Pittsburgh, and that banner will never disappear. Others are ready for a new voice, not out of disrespect, but out of a desire to see this franchise evolve. Both perspectives exist at the same time, and that tension defines where this team is right now. Layered on top of that is the reality of the postseason outlook. Making the playoffs still feels more likely than not, but nothing about it feels guaranteed. Even if the Steelers get there, the question becomes whether they can actually win a playoff game. Playing at home in Pittsburgh in January matters. Cold weather, physical football, and a hostile environment can absolutely tilt the odds against teams that live in domes or warm climates. There's a path where the Steelers win a playoff game. It's not fantasy, but it also isn't something you can confidently expect without hesitation. The odds feel real, but limited. Then there's the issue that might matter more than any scheme or matchup, the health of TJ Watt. When the news broke, there was immediate concern, and rightfully so. Watt isn't just another name on the injury report. His presence or absence changes the identity of the defense. This team has seen season-ending momentum swings tied directly to his health in recent years, and fans know it. At the time of this discussion, there simply wasn't clarity yet. The hope is that he returns soon and can still make his usual impact down the stretch, but the worry is understandable. When a defense is built around a player like Watt, any uncertainty feels magnified. The quarterback discussion is another layer entirely. The possibility of Aaron Rodgers returning depends on one thing above all else: how his body holds up and how he plays over the remainder of the season. If he proves he can stay healthy and perform at a high level, the door remains open. If not, the Steelers may have to look elsewhere, and that's where future planning starts to creep into the conversation. Fans are already debating draft prospects, long-term development, and whether the team should be preparing for a transitional period at the most important position in football. Even past decisions are being re-examined, like the trade involving Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey. The roles have shifted in interesting ways, with each player adapting to different responsibilities on their new teams. From Pittsburgh's perspective, Ramsey's fit at safety has been strong, physical, and instinctive. It doesn't erase the what-if questions, but it does reinforce the idea that sometimes trades aren't about winners and losers, but about fit and timing. All of this is happening at once. That's the reality Steelers fans are living in right now. This isn't just about Week 15. It's about identity, sustainability, leadership, health, and belief. The answers aren't simple, and they're not coming all at once. But the conversations matter, because they reflect how deeply this fan base cares about where this team is headed. So as you're watching this unfold, as the Steelers prepare for another primetime moment with so much weight attached to it, what do you honestly think about where this team stands right now and the direction it's heading? The concern that keeps lingering, and honestly grows louder with every week, is how fragile the margin for error has become. This team doesn't feel like one that can absorb major setbacks and simply move on. Everything feels connected. When one piece slips, the entire structure starts to shake, and that's why the conversation around injuries, leadership, and roster construction all blend into one larger issue. It's not panic, but it's not comfort either. It's that uneasy space in between, where fans know the Steelers are competitive, but aren't fully convinced they're built to last deep into January. When you look at the defense, it still carries the identity that Pittsburgh fans expect. It's physical, aggressive, and capable of taking over games. But that identity is heavily dependent on stars being available and playing at their peak. T.J. Watt's injury history over the last several seasons has become impossible to ignore. For straight years with significant injury concerns isn't just bad luck anymore in the eyes of fans, it's a pattern that has directly impacted how seasons have ended. The last few collapses didn't happen in a vacuum. They happened when Watt wasn't himself or wasn't on the field, and everyone watching knows it. That's why every update, every report, and every moment of uncertainty around his health feels like a turning point for the entire year. At the same time, there's an underlying belief that this roster still has enough talent to be dangerous if things break the right way. Playing meaningful games late in the season matters. Hosting playoff football in Pittsburgh matters. There's still a sense that no team wants to walk into Acrisure Stadium in January and deal with the cold, the crowd, and the style of football the Steelers want to play. That belief hasn't disappeared. It's just been tested repeatedly. Offensively, the future remains cloudy, and that uncertainty shapes everything else. The idea of continuity at quarterback is appealing, but only if performance and durability are there. The discussion around Aaron Rodgers isn't emotional, it's practical. If he finishes strong, proves his body can handle the grind, and earns the trust of the locker room, then bringing him back makes sense. If not, the Steelers are staring at yet another offseason full of questions, draft speculation, and short-term solutions. Fans are already thinking ahead, debating prospects, and imagining different timelines, because the franchise quarterback question still doesn't have a clear, long-term answer. Even roster decisions from the past continue to echo into the present. The trade dynamics, the shifting roles, and how players fit into different defensive schemes all reinforce how thin the line is between success and regret in the NFL. Pittsburgh didn't make moves recklessly, but every decision carries weight, especially when the team is trying to win now while also protecting future draft capital. That balancing act is one of the hardest things to get right, and it's fair for fans to question whether the Steelers have truly nailed it. All of this circles back to the same core feeling. The Steelers are close, but close isn't the standard in Pittsburgh. This franchise is judged by championships, not competitiveness alone. Non-losing seasons are respected, but they aren't celebrated. Fans want to believe that this team can do more than just hang around. They want to believe there's a real run still in this group, not just another year that ends with frustration and unanswered questions. As the season continues and the stakes rise, every game feels heavier. Every injury update feels more dramatic. Every coaching decision feels more scrutinized. That's what happens when expectations collide with uncertainty. The answers are coming, one way or another, and the next few weeks are going to shape how this entire season is remembered. If you're still here watching this unfold, make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments. Let everyone know where you stand on this team right now. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because we're going to keep breaking all of this down every step of the way. What makes this stretch so revealing is that it forces clarity. There's no hiding behind hypotheticals anymore, no comfort in long-term projections when the games in front of you demand answers right now. This is where the Steelers have to show whether they are simply a tough team that hangs around, or a team that can actually seize control of its own story. And that distinction matters deeply to this fan base, because Pittsburgh has never been satisfied with just being relevant. You can feel how much of this season is tied to internal belief. Not just belief from fans, but belief inside the building. When players talk about Mike Tomlin, when they talk about leadership, it's clear the locker room hasn't quit on him or the message. That matters. A fractured locker room ends seasons quickly, and that's not what's happening here. The issue is execution, consistency, and whether belief alone can overcome structural limitations. Leadership can stabilize a team, but it can't always elevate it past its ceiling. That's the tension Steelers fans are wrestling with. The playoff conversation reflects that perfectly. The path is there. The odds aren't overwhelming, but they're real. Winning at home in January isn't just a cliche in Pittsburgh, it's a genuine advantage. Cold, physical football still matters, and the Steelers are built for it when they're healthy. But the fear is that health has become the variable they can't control, especially on defense. When the identity of your unit revolves around one player's availability, every snap without him feels like borrowed time. What also stands out is how much patience the fan base has already spent. Years of finishing just good enough to stay competitive, but not good enough to contend, take a toll. Fans aren't asking for miracles. They're asking for direction. They want to know if the Steelers are truly building towards something or simply maintaining a standard that no longer aligns with championship expectations. That's why debates about coaching, quarterback futures, and roster philosophy aren't going away. They're symptoms of a deeper need for clarity. And that's why these games matter so much more than the standings alone suggest. Every performance either reinforces trust or deepens doubt. Every decision either feels like progress or repetition. The Steelers still control their fate, but control doesn't equal certainty. What happens next will shape how this entire era is judged, not just this season. Now it's on you. If you're watching this, you're part of the conversation that defines what this team means and where it should go. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep your eyes on the screen, because this story is far from over and we're going to be here breaking it all down as it unfolds. And this is where the pressure truly settles in, because moments like this don't just define a season, they define trust. Trust between the coaching staff and the roster. Trust between the front office and the fan base. Trust that what you're watching has a purpose beyond surviving another year. The Steelers are still standing in the race, but standing isn't the same as moving forward, and everyone watching can feel that difference. What fans are really reacting to isn't one loss, one injury, or one decision. It's the accumulation. It's the sense that every year the margin tightens a little more, that the room for excuses shrinks, and that the expectation of figuring it out later no longer lands the same way it once did. Pittsburgh has always respected toughness, resilience, and stability, but it has never confused those traits with settling. That's why this moment feels heavier than others. It's not dramatic, it's decisive. The coming games will either validate the belief that this team can still rise when it matters most, or they will reinforce the fear that the ceiling has already been reached. There's no spin that can hide it. If the Steelers make the playoffs and win, especially at home, the entire narrative shifts. Doubt turns into belief very quickly in this city. But if the season ends the way too many recent ones have ended, the questions won't just continue, they'll intensify. That's why every snap feels like it carries more meaning. This isn't about chasing respect around the league. It's about honoring a standard that was built over decades. Fans don't need perfection, but they need honesty. They need to feel that what they're investing their time and emotion into is heading somewhere real. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me how you see this team right now and where you think this season is truly headed. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching, because the next chapters of this story are about to be written, and we'll be right here breaking it all down with you. There's also something deeper happening beneath all the surface debates, and longtime Steelers fans feel it even if they don't always put it into words. This team is at a crossroads between eras. Not a clean break, not a full rebuild, but that uncomfortable middle ground where pieces from different timelines coexist. Veterans carrying expectations from past success, younger players trying to establish themselves, and a coaching staff trying to bridge both without losing control of the locker room. That's one of the hardest situations to manage in the NFL, and it often defines whether a franchise takes a step forward or drifts sideways. You can see it in how every decision is evaluated. When the Steelers play a strong, disciplined game, it feels like proof that the foundation still works. When they struggle with consistency or fail to capitalize on opportunities, it feels like confirmation that the formula may no longer be enough. Fans aren't overreacting, they're pattern recognizing. They've watched this movie before, and they're trying to figure out if the ending is going to be different this time. What keeps hope alive is that the door isn't closed. The AFC landscape isn't invincible. There are good teams, but there isn't a flawless one that feels untouchable. That's why belief still exists. If the Steelers get healthy at the right time, if key players rise in big moments, and if the coaching staff pushes the right buttons, there's still a path where this season becomes something more than just another entry in the standings. That possibility is enough to keep fans locked in, even through the frustration. But belief always comes with accountability in Pittsburgh. The standard doesn't bend just because circumstances are difficult. That's what separates this fan base from many others. They will support, they will defend, but they will also demand more when they feel the bar is slipping. That tension isn't toxic, it's part of the culture. It's why these conversations are so intense and why every late-season game feels like a referendum on the direction of the franchise. As this unfolds, there won't be one single moment that defines everything. It will be a collection of moments. A defensive stand when the game is on the line. A missed opportunity that swings momentum. A coaching decision that works or backfires. All of it will add up, And when the season ends, fans will look back and know exactly when their confidence shifted one way or the other. So now it really comes down to this. Do you see a team that's building towards something meaningful, or a team that's holding on to what it used to be? Let me know what you honestly think down in the comments. And that question lingers because it doesn't have an easy answer yet. That's what makes this stretch so compelling and, at the same time, so frustrating. The Steelers haven't forced anyone to fully believe, but they also haven't given anyone permission to completely walk away. They exist in that narrow space where every week feels like it could tip the scale in either direction, and that's exhausting for a fan base that is used to clarity, one way or the other. What's undeniable is that the evaluation window is wide open right now. Players are being judged not just on production, but on reliability. Coaches are being judged not just on leadership, but on adaptability. The front office is being judged not just on restraint, but on whether patience has quietly turned into hesitation. None of these evaluations happen in isolation. They stack, just like seasons do, and eventually they shape decisions that can redefine a franchise. You can also sense how much emotional equity fans still have invested in this team. If that wasn't the case, the conversations wouldn't be this intense. Indifference is the real danger for any organization, and the Steelers are nowhere near that. Fans are watching closely because they still believe something meaningful can happen here. They're arguing because they care. They're critical because they expect more. That's not noise. That's engagement rooted in history. The coming weeks will either reward that investment or strain it further. If the Steelers respond under pressure, if they show growth instead of repetition, the narrative can change fast. Confidence can return just as quickly as doubt crept in. But if the same issues resurface when the stakes are highest, the off-season questions will arrive louder and earlier than anyone wants. This is why every moment matters now. Not because the season is already lost or already saved, but because the identity of this era of Steelers football is being written in real time. And once it's written, it's hard to rewrite. So as this continues to unfold, keep watching closely, because what you're seeing right now isn't just another chapter, it's a turning point. And I want to know where you stand as we reach it. What do you believe this team really is? The beauty of this moment, and the difficulty, is that every fan's perspective on this team can be so different depending on how they view the long-term vision versus the immediate reality. For some, the Steelers' struggle to break through is merely a sign that the right pieces haven't been put into place yet, whether it's a change in coaching, a few more key acquisitions, or just a bit more luck with injuries. For others, the question is whether this organization is stuck in a cycle of complacency, unable or unwilling to truly retool in a way that could lead to sustained success. And yet, no matter where you land on that spectrum, there is something that binds all Steelers fans, the understanding that this franchise doesn't do mediocrity for long. The Steelers are always either in contention or in transition. There is no middle ground. The franchise's history has shown us that when Pittsburgh is down, it's only a matter of time before they rise back up again. That sense of optimism is ingrained in the very fabric of this team and its fans. That's why the questions we're asking today about Tomlin's future, the health of TJ Watt, the quarterback position, and the long-term direction of the roster feel like more than just football concerns. They're questions about identity, about the next chapter in a legacy that has spanned decades. So where do we go from here? The